Boys and men are not given permission to express being hurt. You can express being mad, but when they feel hurt, then it's the silence because I don't want to appear weak. I don't want to appear needy. Girls get their feelings hurt, not guys. But instead of expressing it, I can go drink it away. I can go play my game. I can go run and find another woman who I think is even more beautiful. And then I'm not hurt because look who I got now. For us to give permission and space and to not ridicule both women and men who express their hurt feelings.
We've been taught that love is sacrifice, that being easygoing is admirable, right? We love you for that. And that relationships take work, but nobody told us what kind. So we bend, we perform, we silence. But what if the healthiest love is one where neither person has to disappear? And this happens a lot. In this episode, we're going deep into what it means to be fully seen without losing yourself. We explore emotional unavailability, gender dynamics, cheating, shutdown patterns, and the deep guilt that lives in those lopsided relationships. This conversation is not about blame, it's all about truth. Joining me on this episode is Dr. Thema Bryant. She is a clinical psychologist, ordained minister, and president of the American Psychological Association. She's a professor at Pepperdine, where she leads a culture and trauma research lab, and her work bridges psychology, spirituality, and social justice with a depth that's so rare. Dr. Thema Bryant brings decades of experience in helping people reclaim themselves after trauma, especially in relationships. And what she shares in this conversation will give you the tools and the language to stop repeating those wounds and start showing up with presence, truth, and power. If you ever wondered why love feels so hard or why it feels so healing, this is your episode. This is your mirror. Thank you for joining this episode of Heal Thyself. To support the show, please rate, review, and subscribe. It gives us the opportunity to really expand this knowledge to people who need it most, and you can do your part by just sharing the love. Again, thank you for listening. I'm forever grateful, and I love you all. Let's get started. All right, Dr. Thema, you are on the Heal Thyself podcast.
Yay!
Man, your energy is incredible. I can't wait for the viewers and listeners to get a dose of this energy. I could tell you have a passion for life. I could tell you're open. You have your heart on the surface. You're what a human being integrated should feel like. And I feel a lot of people, and I feel really good around you. So,
oh, thank you. Well, likewise, your warmth and energy and kindness and authenticity will continue to open doors for you.
I love that.
Yeah.
I can't wait for the viewers to get a dose of you. Anyway, before we do, let's regulate ourselves. Viewers, listeners, we always do, we're going to take 30 seconds just to come back to our bodies, come back to this convo so we can really listen with an open heart. So we just feel our bodies coming back to the body, feeling the chest and the belly. If you're sitting down, you feel the weight of your glutes just pressing down. If you're standing, you feel your feet pressing. Noticing your arms, your spine, your body. Relaxing the belly. We take a gentle breath to the belly, breathing in, 2, 3, 4, and breathe out. Regulating our system, our breath. Take a deep breath in and breathe out. Just feeling your body drop when you breathe out. One more deep breath. Bring it through the nose now. And breathe out. As we welcome Dr. Thema. Welcome. That feels good.
Yeah. Thank
Feels
you.
good. Yeah, to reground, right?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for that.
Okay, but I got some rapid fire questions for you now.
All right. I'm
You feel
ready.
good? Now the system's coming back
Yeah,
alive?
that's it.
Okay. My first question. Do you believe that people, they heal in relationships? Relationships are a place where we can actually have the deepest healing.
We definitely can take our healing to another level in relationships with others. That internal process is important first, but another level of healing will happen once we're interacting with people in that place of intimacy.
Emotional unavailability. Is that learned early on in childhood?
Emotional unavailability can be coming from the model of your parents and what you were taught was safe or was not safe. You can also have it disruptive. So you may have been emotionally available as a child, and then as a young adult had an experience that caused you to shut down and no longer be available.
I like these questions. When people abandon themselves in a relationship, is that coming from childhood?
It can come from both. So the early experiences, you may have been told to prioritize other people. You may have been a parentified child where you had to take care of your parents, parents dealing with addiction or mental illness. So you learned to be vigilant. People might have called you an old soul, and that sounded like a compliment, but you were also robbed of a childhood. And so then the ways in which you show up were affected by those messages.
Okay, the last one. This is a big one. Control issues. What is one way to start bringing awareness that maybe the control issues are a deeper thing?
To become curious about what the other person wants and needs and inviting them to express themselves instead of us trying to dictate or control their response.
I'm excited. We got the rapid fire out of the way. I'm excited for these convo. Man, that was so easy and natural for you. The relationships are the mirror, like I tell you, the biggest growths I've ever had spiritually, mentally, even physically in my health were after relationship breakups. Like they shook me up. I was in something for 4 to 6 months and then I came out a different person. And why are relationships so sacred when it comes to this type of healing? But there's early on where you don't even know. You just break up and you go, whatever. It was what it was. You know what I mean? And it was all them. When we come into this consciousness that it's for us, there's something can happen and shift. What's so sacred about relationships that they change us like this?
Yeah. I encourage people to do as you did, which is pull your wisdom out of the wound. Many times after a breakup, we're so wounded that we're trying to medicate ourselves, that we're trying to distance ourselves, that we're trying to numb ourselves, that we're trying to rapidly replace that void. And so then nothing gets pulled out of it. So we're repeating the pattern. We get a new person, new face, new name, same pattern, because we haven't taken the pause. So relationships are key in terms of our understanding of ourselves, because in part we define ourselves based on how other people see us, experience us, interact with us, what they call something out of us that makes us to respond in a particular way. So often people who are not connected to others and doing their individual process will say like, I'm fine, I'm great, I feel wonderful, because nothing's triggering me, right? Nothing is coming up close that's rubbing against the story I'm telling myself. But as soon as I let someone in, when we talk about emotional intimacy, that's being known, being seen, being heard, being accepted. And so when someone rejects us or mistreats us, it shakes up our idea of who we are.
And it shakes us up big time. It shakes us up, our confidence. It shakes our nervous system up.
Yes.
We wake up with anxiety.
Right.
We're like, well, I thought I was great.
Yeah.
So is then that moment to humble ourselves and take a raw look at how we showed up and who we think we are?
Right. I would say we want to look at the whole picture. So we were, and let's say it's two people, we were two people that came in with our life experiences, with our assumptions, with our needs, with our desires, and then somehow it was not aligned. And sometimes it's not a matter of who was right or who was wrong. It's that you weren't aligned, right? That just what you desire out of life, the pace you like, just give, for example, there are some people who in a relationship that becomes not only their best friend, but their only friend, that whenever they're not at work, they're with this person. And if that's a mutual desire, that works beautifully. But let's say you have someone who has a lot of friends or has hobbies or needs time alone sometimes, then that can create a rupture.
A lot of tension, and it's unspoken.
Right.
And it seems to me, and please correct me if I'm wrong, this is just my assumption, is that in relationships, there's often the person who's really like overgiving sometimes and maybe even like needy maybe. And then the other person is sort of like, can be the person who can be alone more or maybe disconnects easily. Is that usually a polarity? And what does a healthy one look like?
Right. So the challenge is if you have the distancer pursuer is what that pattern is called, where, the pursuer is the one who's like constantly calling, constantly texting, always making plans, and the other one is kind of putting them off. And so what often happens is the pursuer gets tired of pursuing, and once they stop, then the distancer, if they're interested, is like, oh no, I'm about to lose them, right? Yeah, let me become the pursuer, right? So the key I say to some people, some couples is it may not be that one person didn't try. It may be that you weren't trying at the same time. So some people don't start trying until they're about to be dropped.
Yeah. Well, I've been on both sides of that when I was younger.
Yeah.
I knew exactly when to pull away because I expected. But you know what would really check my ego? When they didn't come.
Right.
I pulled away and I'm like, oh man, I thought this would work.
Yes.
It just
and
went
you
away.
were giving all of this
Yeah.
and it was really one-sided, so to your question of, how is it healthy? In a healthy model, we are mutually desiring of the connection. Now, our love languages may be different. We might show it in different ways, but that both people are showing up and wanting to invest.
You said the word love languages. It's a real thing in relationships that people express their wants and needs or their love for the other differently? Is it a point of contention when they're not meeting each other in the right language?
Right. So a part of it is, one, I want to say, usually people don't have just one language, right? It's just, there could be multiple ways that you like to receive love. And what we usually do is love people the way we want to be loved instead of in the way that they want to hear it, right? Mm-hmm. So then you have to decide, one, is this person able to meet me in the ways that are nourishing to me? And if they are not, is the person themselves and the way they show up sufficient for me to release that? So for us, it becomes, what are like the mandatory things and what are the optional, right? So, I'll give the example with my parents. My mom is very verbal, or I say was very verbal. And before my dad, she was dating a poet. So he would like write her these long letters, all this stuff. Now my dad, he'll give you a card and sign like Love John, right? That's all you're going to get. And so, but for her, who he was outweighed like this particular style of communicating that she liked, right? Mm-hmm. So that's what each of us have to be honest about, not that falsehood of thinking you can make somebody into something else. In the ways in which they show up, is that going to be acceptable to you? Is that going to nourish you? Because sometimes we don't know what we want until it shows up.
Can a person who, let's say they're really touchy and they show a lot of physical affection, if their partner says, honey, I love you, I love the physical affection, but what really lights me up is when I hear words of affirmation come from you, truly like supporting, loving words. Can that person learn how to do that? Or are we just inherently like really good at one thing and we're just not good at the others?
Yes, we can definitely learn them and work on them out of our care. Like when I'm really into you, then I care what lights you up. And so we'll start trying to speak each other's language. And, that whole piece of, foreplay not starting at like 10 p.m. with the lights off, right? So what was lighting up throughout the day, like throughout the week? And so we can definitely develop them. The key is looking at desire and motivation, because if someone's not really motivated to do it, they can feel resentful, and then they're shutting down. They might also feel rejected because you're not doing it the way they want you to do it. So a part of it becomes our openness to the new, or am I stuck in like this is what we usually say, that's just me, right? That's just me.
Yeah.
Right? So yes, that is you. And are you willing to work on it, to grow, to develop because of your care for this other person?
That makes sense. And I can totally feel into the tension that happens when you're resenting, oh, now I have to do this. I don't even want to do it. And she doesn't see me for who I am. And this, all these things.
Right.
And it's like work to show up for someone else. And it's not coming from the heart.
Right. Right.
And I think that in a relationship, you really got to check in.
Right.
Am I being authentic from my heart right here?
And I should also say, for the person who is desiring this change of behavior, to actually acknowledge and appreciate it when it shows up. Because sometimes what people say is, well, they're just doing it because I asked. Yeah, and that's beautiful, right? Like that's not their natural way of being, but you asked, and so they're trying.
Yeah, that's the beautiful thing. And I remember being in a relationship where it was sort of like that, but there was an expectation and I could never do it right. And I was like, well, where's the like celebration of the growth? Things are clunky in the beginning.
Yes. And often, when there isn't acknowledgement of the effort, people just stop trying because they feel like it's impossible.
For sure. Yeah. Okay. You mentioned shutting down. What is one of the main things in relationships that cause shutdown? And I want to come from the perspective of the fellas out there, because I know that generally speaking, we're oftentimes not as emotionally intelligent as our partner. And so men, we can shut down really easily. We get really quiet. We start working. We start doing the yard work. We start doing everything but the relationship. What is one of the main things and what tool don't we have as men that is causing this? You feel like you're not sleeping well, you're feeling more stressed than usual, or even noticing changes in your cravings, your skin, your energy. It could all come down to one essential mineral, and that's magnesium. Most of us aren't getting enough magnesium, and when we're deficient, it can throw everything out of sync, our hormones, metabolism, and even our stress levels. That is why I'm here to tell you about Magnesium Breakthrough from Bioptimizers. Adding Magnesium Breakthrough to your routine can support deeper sleep, better digestion, and stress management. Go to bioptimizers.com and use the code DRG for 10% off. That is bioptimizers.com/DRG.
Boys and men are not given permission to express being hurt, right? Like you can express being mad, right? And so usually if they're mad, they're going to say like what they're mad about. But when they feel hurt, then it's the silence, because I don't want to appear weak. I don't want to appear needy. I don't want to appear like all of the assumptions we have of like girls get their feelings hurt, right? Not guys. And it's like, no, you're hurt, right? But instead of expressing it, then, I can go drink it away. I can go play my game. I can go run and find another woman who I think is even more beautiful. And then I'm not hurt because like, look who I got now.
Right.
So for us to give permission and space and to not ridicule both women and men, not to ridicule boys and men who express their hurt feelings.
What about when a man finally does express that, right? He's encouraged by his partner and he's working up to it. He's like, okay, I think I feel hurt. And he finally says these words, and it's not held in a loving way. It's sort of like, it's even maybe not ridiculed, but like kind of rejected, or that can really shut down a man, right?
Right, it can. And I will say, we want to be thoughtful about what is it that's hurting me, because sometimes a woman expressing her hurt, a man responds by feeling hurt, right? So now what's happened is they're wanting you to take care of them when you were expressing your own hurt, right? So, how do we hold space to hear each other, to honor each other? And I bring that example up because I have seen that happen with couples where, it can be a strategy to make women not complain.
Kind of shutting it down.
Right, yeah. Because basically if I raise my issue, they're going to give me the silent treatment. So then we learn quickly, don't raise issues.
Wow.
Right.
And if you raise the issue, can they raise like a bigger issue and then sort of
Right.
unheard with that
Yes,
issue?
yeah.
So it's a little strategy we learned
Right,
early
right.
on, huh?
It really is.
Oh man, fellas, we gotta check ourselves over here, right?
So check in so that do I only feel hurt and express hurt in response to her hurt, right? Then then it's about developing the emotional capacity to hear someone else's pain without it having to become about me.
Is it that some of us are so terrified of seeing pain because it's mirroring what's inside of us?
Yeah. A part of it is, I don't have permission to express that, like what they're doing.
Yeah.
Like, they're falling apart and crying and like, I could never do that. So like pull it together. But a part of it is for some men experiencing it as or interpreting it as their failure, right? So if you're that upset, I must have failed. And so now I'm mad and hurt that you think I'm a failure.
Whoa,
right?
Okay, so that happens, huh?
Yeah, definitely. So then instead, to just be able to hold space for it, because let's say, there was a ball that was missed or, something that was done. In order to heal it and repair it, I need to first hear it, right? To heal it, I have to hear it. So let me, ground myself like what we did in the beginning, right?
Yeah.
Take breath. So when someone else is worked up or expressing a lot of emotion, because what we usually do is like, we're not listening. We go into response mode or defense mode. So let me just take breath and really try to hear not only what they're saying, but maybe even what they're not saying.
Yeah. What a practice for a man, right?
Right.
Because we don't learn these strategies.
Right. No.
We don't learn. I remember in my 20s, if we got into a disagreement, all my energy would come up to my head and I'd be in defense mode. And I'd be so good at strategizing to make the person wrong.
Right. Yeah.
But it wasn't until I actually began to know what my body feels like, where I can feel grounded.
Right.
And then I ask myself, okay, if this person's speaking to me, what if everything she's saying is absolutely true about me, what if her reality is completely true? How can I hold that as a man?
Right.
As truth.
Right.
That changed it.
Yeah. And I think what's liberating with that is to know something can be true in the moment and it's not my final truth.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So I could, they may be right that this was selfish, but I don't have to always be selfish.
Doesn't mean you're selfish.
Yeah.
But that's what happens. So I'm selfish then. Right. Okay, but don't you remember when I did this, this, and this?
Yes,
and
the
right?
defense.
The defense.
But it's what you said of when we are engaging, and this goes for men and women, when we're engaging to win, then it's already lost.
Yeah.
Right? Because then, if I'm trying to be the winner, then I want you to be the loser.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Versus if we want to win, then the issue is the issue. Right?
Man, it's so complex because I think about if we come to that space and we go, I want to do better by this. Yeah. There's also a lot of resentment that you have to let go of that probably built up in the relationship when you've defended or you've abandoned yourself. Right. So it's you got to clear that and come from a new lens.
Yes.
What is that mindset shift that is the moment where we say, no, this relationship's going to work? What happens? What is the strategy? What is the thing that we can really start improving our relationship finally with our partner?
Right. So it is the commitment to showing up for the other person without abandoning me. Right? Because the other way, many people stay and have abandoned themselves and just commit to misery. And then they just celebrate the number of years. Oh, we've been together so long, right? But miserable, right? So I don't want to abandon me, but I also want to be compassionate to them, right? Because some people will do the reverse where now it's all about me and I don't care about you, right? So it becomes very cruel and harsh and cold and all the things. So then instead the goal becomes for me to love you and love myself enough to want us to both be present.
That's the presence is that healing part of the relationship.
Yes.
Because you get to see them in a new light with
Right.
your presence. Probably something we don't really have in relationships
Right.
until we develop that.
And I will say, in terms of the resentment, apology, which includes change behavior, is healing, right? Sometimes people aren't changing and they want you to be like, just let it go. Like, why are you still mad? Well, the pattern hasn't changed. So, we want to, and that's why it's important to hear, like, what were the hurtful or harmful things so that I can commit to, working on myself and doing it a different way.
In the one-sided, in those relationships where we abandon ourselves, what does it feel like to abandon ourselves in a relationship?
Yeah. It feels like active labor to censor and silence yourself. That whole metaphor of walking on eggshells, because you're perpetually trying to read what the other person wants you to say. What do they want you to do before you even check in with yourself? And so when, we've talked some about acting, right? So you're constantly performing because you don't want them to abandon you or be mad at you or not choose you. So you're consistently externally focused and have no idea what's going on within yourself.
And doing that for years, what is the repercussion of doing that for 20, 30 years in a marriage?
Yeah. That you often have lost sight of yourself. So it can get to a point where you're not, some people are resentful. If you're resentful, if you're aware of it, that you're aware you're doing it, right? When you're not even aware, it's like, oh no, this is fine, right? So we have so adjusted ourselves that the unacceptable is now acceptable. Like we will defend it and say like, no, he or she just needs a lot and I'm okay. We'll call it like, I'm easygoing, I'm easy to please, but really you're not pleased.
Yeah. And that's when we make excuses for even behaviors can get worse and worse. And we keep abandoning ourselves. So the core root and wound is, I don't want to be abandoned by this person.
I don't want to be abandoned or rejected. I misunderstood when people said relationships are work. And I thought relationships are silencing, or relationships require one person's compromise and the other person gets whatever they want.
And on paper, that's a good deal for the person getting whatever they want. They could do whatever they want.
Oh, yeah.
But ironically, is they're living in a home with this, I think that we have this deep, deep guilt when we know that we're in a relationship where the person's not being fully them. You can't feel maybe I'm just thinking in a relationship, we kind of hide it. I just don't think that the person can be fully happy who has their partner being fully abandoning themselves. Can they be? Can they be healthy and happy?
Yeah, it's a matter of what their emotional development is, especially around gender, because some men believe and were raised and taught to believe that and this is all, of course, in straight relationships, that a good quote unquote girl is going to cater to you, take care of you, not be demanding, is going to lift you up. So some people who get that love it and are very happy with that arrangement.
Right. Yeah. And cultural too.
Yes.
A lot of different cultures, very machismo men.
You shouldn't say too much. You should always agree. Definitely don't ever disagree with them. And that's why, in some of the research studies around health, a lot of men's health improves with marriage and a lot of women's health goes down.
Wait, you got to say that again.
Yeah.
For the people, can you say that again?
Yes. Please? A lot of the research on physical and mental health shows that when men get married, their stress level goes down and their health improves. For women, their stress increases and then often their distress goes up, because it's a matter of, are you taking anything off this person's plate? right? So in like traditional gender roles, the idea is, you do what you were doing for yourself, but you also do for this other person, and do it with a smile, and don't
Yeah.
ever complain, because complaining's bad, nagging is bad, having opinions is bad. Now, of course, in a loving relationship, both people are being cared for. And so then everybody's stress can go down, and, your health can go up. Yeah.
Ooh, I've seen relationships like that one.
Right.
It feels sort of like a mothering too. It's like it's like these men were mothered
Yeah.
by their mother heavily, and then they go into it, and then they just expect that
Yes,
nurturing.
to do all of that, and only receiving. So what I like to say is, if you make them your priority and they make themselves their priority, who's looking out for you? Right? So being giving and generous is a beautiful thing, but it really only works when there's, in a healthy way, when it's mutual and reciprocal, right? Because I can be sacrificing and giving and prioritizing you if you're also doing that for me, right? Then everybody is held, right? But often what people are taught is not that. It's just to be a taker or to receive.
Ooh, that's heavy, because I have a feeling that there's people listening who is on one side of that equation.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're part of that equation. They go, whoa, okay, I got to do better, or I have to do better. Both people are like, I have to do better.
Yes, because, I would say if you're picking people based on that model of who's gonna do the most for me, but I'm selfish, you're not a good lover. You're not a good partner. And I should say, holistically, because some people in that traditional model think the end of their role is financial, right? So they're like, I, should get all the things and I'm covering the bills. Well, that's beautiful and lovely, right? Not going to not going to minimize that, or like that is big. And that's a whole person on the other side of that, who, along with like a roof or like food in the refrigerator, like what is the condition of their heart, right? Do they feel seen by you, honored by you, treasured by you?
Yeah. By the same logic, it's a dog. You feed a dog, and the dog has a roof and it has a bed, and it's taken care of.
Yes.
Like that's like aiming at the lowest level.
At the lowest level.
Yeah. And for me, when I tune into this, is like Latin culture. I know a lot of men who that's the dynamic.
Yes.
It's very potent in Latin culture. And when I really tune into it, I think the scariest thing for those men is when the woman begins to feel her autonomy and finally say no and demand more. Oh my God, that's incredibly scary.
Right.
Because it's shifting the whole comfort.
Yes. And that's why, when we heal or grow, it changes relationships. Some people are excited. Let's say, the relationship was starting off and you were kind of like timid or quiet, never said anything. A mature person, a mature partner, when they start hearing you express yourself more, can celebrate that, because it's like, now you finally trust me to be a person in this, right? You actually have thoughts or ideas, or like, after many years, finally saying like, I actually hate that restaurant, or I actually don't like that all the gifts you give me are for home duties, right? So it's like, I bought you a refrigerator, I bought you a vacuum, I bought you an ironing board, right? Like that's my gift, right? It's for labor. So when you finally say, actually, I would like something else, or actually, whenever you come home, I ask you about your day and you've never asked me about mine, then what we talked about before, a man could like shut down and be like, oh, they take me for granted. Versus if I sit with like, wow, all this time, and it's true, I've never asked like how your day was, because I assumed nothing. I assume you've been waiting for me.
Yeah. Being honest with yourself.
Yeah. So And I've had clients who have said, like, why did this person change? One, we grow and evolve over time, but sometimes it's that people were censoring themselves because of this fear of like abandonment and rejection. And once you show up in like stability and are like communicating, I'm here for you, then they feel like it's safe enough for me to come out of hiding, to actually be myself. So now we have like a real relationship.
And that can happen anytime. It can happen 20 years into a relationship.
Yes.
Wow. Imagine, I mean, you must see a lot of couples and a lot of different dynamics. Right. So when's the right time to walk away in a relationship? If you know you've been abandoning yourself and it's not seemingly getting better, how do we know I got to let this go and I got to start anew?
Yeah. So a part of it is, how do we fight or how do we handle our disagreements? Because, when you said like I'm seeing no change, when your partner is really in a place of hostility or disgust, they're not going to try.
Yeah.
Right? Versus someone might feel like stressed, right? Or it might, we have research around like even body language during a disagreement, right? There are times where, like, if I'm really trying to hear the person, I'm turning toward, I may be upset about something you said, but there's still like a reach there, right? Versus when someone is done, right? Then as opposed to I'm so distressed, it often just goes cold to nothing, right? So how does this person express their displeasure or their disagreement with me is an important one. And as you were noting, what am I receiving or what is nourishing in here? What is going well? What is not going well? And what has never gone well?
Oh.
Right? Because sometimes it may be, this person has been very loving. They got laid off. They're depressed. But like, I know that's in there. Then I may say, I'm going to ride this out because I know like the care is there. They're going through a hard time, right? Versus when I come to think about it, they don't really care and they never really did, right? It may have been like tactics to get me, but as soon as I said yes, like all of that ended, right? So, I encourage people to try to talk it out. I encourage people to, try counseling. But a part of it is, you have to both be motivated to do the work, right? And sometimes only one person is doing the work.
That's it. And if that's the truth, you got to be very clear with it.
Yes.
Be real with yourself and go, okay, if I keep saying, let's go to this seminar, let's go to read this book. And if it's not there, it's not there.
Yeah. And sometimes, people are saying, I'm staying, because we have kids. But one of the things we also know from psychology research is children growing up in a high conflict home do worse than children who are growing up with the parents are apart but at peace. Right? So it's not just a matter of like, are we together? And that's the magic gift I'm giving my kids. It's like, what are we modeling to them? If it's just like we're not speaking to each other or there's all that like hostility and anger, the kids aren't being nourished by that.
I feel for that because a lot of parents stay together for the kids. Yeah. And ironically, it's if you want to do it for the kids, not being together and at peace is even more important.
Yes. So it's like, if we're going to stay, then we need to do the work so we can get to a place that what we're modeling for them. And I don't just mean when they're in the room. A lot of people, are like, oh, we don't argue in front of the kids. Meanwhile, they're in the room right next door, like yelling, throwing things.
Kids hear everything.
Yeah, all of it. They can feel that tension. They hear it. So either we're going to give them something good, or if like for whatever reason that just isn't there anymore, let them see us both at peace and happy and safe.
Man, and I feel for I really feel for the children in abusive households.
Oh yeah.
You know, like
Because some
to
of
think
those
about
kids grow up and say, you know, you stayed for me and we were wishing we could get out of here. Yeah.
So I watched this video of this young kid, and he was with his mom, and his mom was apologizing to him
Yeah.
for being an abusive mom physically and always putting him down and never celebrating him getting good grades. And it was, I think he just graduated like from a really good college, and he starts breaking down. You see all this anger in his face, protection, and then it just starts going away, and that hurt starts showing up.
Yeah.
And you see the mom desperately wanting to rebuild and like making amends because she finally did the work on herself. These moments are just crazy.
And acknowledgement and apology, when it's sincere, can be healing, because a lot of people never get it. Like you know, it's never acknowledged that, you know, I was out of order, that I hurt you, that you deserved better, you know, and I wasn't in a good place, a healthy place, and you know, you deserved something different, you know.
I got a good question.
Yeah.
It just came up.
Yeah.
People cheat. People cheat. And have you worked with couples trying to amend that? Are there any universal signs that people are cheating? Is there like a way to know that my partner is cheating?
Right. Well, a part of it can just be time, right? The time and secrecy, because in order to cheat, I gotta do it at some point. Now, I hesitated because some people cheat when they're supposed to be at work, or they're cheating with people they work with, right?
That's right, and you don't even time. That's their time at work supposed to be.
Yeah. So sometimes the person, you know, suddenly seems happier. They're excited about their new situation, right? So they can come home smiling, very pleasant. Or instead of becoming more pleasant, they may become more cold or distant, because as I am honoring this new thing, I'm more rejecting of you, you know, less attentive to you, because I'm getting my needs or desires met elsewhere. So people handle it differently. I will say that, you know, an important question to ask someone, they may not always give you the true answer, is one, have they ever been faithful in their lives? Right? Because some people think like, I'm going to say I do and then become faithful, or some people didn't even plan to be, right? I have worked with people who not only have never been faithful, but we'll say these are men clients, although it could be men or women. But in this particular example, men who say not only have they never been faithful, but they don't have one friend who has been.
Wow.
So they don't believe it's possible.
Yeah.
Right? So they feel more bad about like getting caught, or they feel bad they might lose their family. Yeah. But like can say to me as a therapist, they sincerely aren't sure they can be faithful. Like they've never done it before.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. They never even had the experience or no reference points, healthy reference points.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, but women be cheating too.
Yes, absolutely.
Women be cheating.
And I've had clients who are women who have cheated as well. And, you know, what people do, men and women, we justify it in different ways. Right?
How do men justify cheating? How do women justify cheating?
So men will often justify it by saying it didn't mean anything. Right? Yeah. So I'm honoring my vows. I'm like, you still number one. This is like nothing. Right? Yeah. So that's how they can justify it if they get caught, and also justify it to themselves is, the wife is the wife. Right?
Different, completely different.
And sometimes they'll even tell these side people that they're married. So they feel like I'm operating in honesty, and these people are cool with it. They know,
except the person who's being cheated on.
Yes. And then for women I have worked with will usually justify it more with like a need that's not being met. So, it could be a sexual need. It could be an emotional need where, when I was saying like the person coming in and not checking on you, and then so when they feel neglected, and then, when you have someone who's neglected, sometimes it can be easy to gain access to them because all you have to do is come with the compliments.
Yes,
right?
yeah.
So they're out and about and people are like, oh my God, you look amazing. And they're like, I had on this same outfit and my husband didn't say anything, right? So now it's like, woo, woo, woo. So yeah, sometimes it's more justified by an attempt to justify it based on feeling undesired or neglected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes it's harder to tell when a woman's cheating because she can just be her same self.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I would say both. That's why I was hesitating on how you can tell. Because some people are just better at hiding it than others. Like, really.
And you're just shocked they've been cheating.
Yes. Because even the point I was making about time, I remembered a male client saying, even if a guy is with you 12 hours of the day, 20 hours of the day, he still got 4 hours. Right. Wow. So it was like, because you're like, oh, they are with me all the time. Then I know nothing's happening because they're with me all the time. There's time for whatever people want to make time for. And it doesn't take that long.
Now, this has to be is digital cheating.
Yeah.
You have to be seeing clients with this.
Definitely. Right? The being in other people, the DMs.
The DMs.
Right?
That's the whole new thing.
Yes. And the, what you can even see publicly are people on a date and they're both on their phones.
Yeah.
Like literally not talking to each other.
Yeah, I see
right?
Mm-hmm.
Or, couples who are literally in the bed with their backs turned on their phones. So it is that perpetual access to other people. And, there's a lot of loneliness. So people desiring connections, they shooting their shot. Mm-hmm. And so, the phones have created a lot more opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back in the days, it was someone you met at the supermarket or something like this. Now it's just like, it's everywhere.
Yes. And then a quick one is, this whole dynamic now of send me a picture.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. So then it's not only like emotionally connecting with people on the phone, sexually connecting with them, sending people money to do, they have these like apps and websites where, you can have it your way on demand.
Yeah. And is it important to define early on, like, okay, honey, I love you. I don't care about all that stuff. That's just like pornography to me. Or that's cheating. It's really important to define this early on, right?
And some people don't want to have that conversation because they don't want, because if we explicitly say we're not going to do that, right now I did it. Yeah. Whereas so there can be the gift of the not knowing. Yeah. It's like, oh, I didn't know you would care about stuff like that.
Yeah.
Or the demeaning of the person who brings up the issue. So let's say you're a couple and your partner never likes or comments on anything on your page, but they're liking all these other women, right? These Instagram models or hotties or whoever. And so, but then let's say if you bring to them the fact that like you feel devalued because they're giving this attention, people who are not emotionally mature will call that being needy.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, oh, you're insecure. It's just a picture, right? But it's like, but you're not holding up, you're not putting in esteem this person you claim to love, right?
Yeah. It's an easy way to just devalue and just put your defense and excuses right there.
Yes.
Man, we never spoke about cheating on the show with anyone. So this is cool that we got to have this conversation because it's real. It happens. There's people listening right now that might be being cheated on right now.
Right.
So you might have to break up,
And the important piece you said about having the conversation, because we have different expectations, right? I know couples that will go to like strip parties together and they're on one accord. They're both having a great time. And then for other people, like that's never going to happen. So you have to know who you're with and honor that. And that requires the communication.
Yeah, 100%. You speak about the garden of the heart,
Yeah.
right? How do you define the garden of the heart? What's the importance of having that perspective with our heart? Because I know that I talk about the heart all the time, but I really want to start going into that with you.
Yeah. So it is about the ways in which we nourish ourselves and the way we nourish those that we care about. So, when we think about, gardening, you consider, and I talk about like this piece of like being in bloom, we have to water it. So as opposed to often in relationships, in the beginning, we're given a whole bunch of water, right? And then we go into neglect mode or taking people for granted. And so to say like these simple things that we can do of like, a card or thanking someone for, there may be something they do for you all the time, but you still notice it, appreciate it, acknowledge it. So how am I watering the heart of the person or people I care about? And also watering my own heart, right? So that when I'm in relationship, it doesn't mean I turn over my mental health to the other person.
Yeah.
Right? I have to still continue to take care of my emotional well-being so that I can show up for them and not just be on empty. So watering it, and then, we think about pruning, or getting rid of the weeds, versus what we often do is avoid conflict. And so the weeds are growing and it's strangling the relationship, right? It's strangling our heart because we're conflict avoidant and we're worried about upsetting the other or getting upset ourselves. So if we don't address mess, it gets worse, right? So having those hard conversations is a part of how we let it grow. And then it's also recognizing we might not be the same flower.
Yeah.
Right? So
true.
then allowing for the differences, and, we don't have to be identical to be together, but I just have to honor your way and you have to honor my way. Right?
Phew, what a great analogy, right? 'Cause especially about being separate flowers, because we really, really have to honor that you do things differently.
Right.
Your perspectives on things different, your life experiences, the complexities.
Yes.
We all just want like a doppelganger of us. And I thought you love horror movies. Well, no, I don't love horror movies. I never said that.
I never said that. Yes.
So like, we really like understanding this person is their own human being. We lose track of that, or try to meld someone into what we want.
We assume agreement, and then another problem is if someone disagrees, some people think of that as like disrespect, or that means we can't be together. So we have to consider like, what are the things we need to be in agreement on? And what are the things we're like, oh yeah, it would be nice if we both like horror, but you don't. So we'll watch movies on our own or what have you.
Right.
So we want to get clear about what are the deal breakers and what are like just preferences.
I love this conversation.
Yeah,
we talk relationships. We talk about I love that we went into the cheating.
Yes.
We're talking about the analogies, the flowers, the connection, love language.
Yeah.
All of this, viewers and listeners are going, okay, maybe I'm not in a relationship. Maybe I'm in a relationship. What are the ways that we can, like, what is your protocol to really bettering yourself to be the best version of you in a relationship, or even coming into a relationship? What are the things that we need to focus on ourselves so we show up the best?
Yeah. So the first thing I would say is healing the wounds of the past, because, a lot of times we bring in old scripts, that are dysfunctional, that are toxic. The way I like to phrase that is the way you survived may not help you when you want to thrive, right? So when I had to develop this other way of being in an unhealthy situation, that's how I manage that. But if I'm trying to build something healthy and new, I have to like see that for what it was and open myself up to like a new pattern or new possibility, new mindset. So healing the wounds of the past so that you don't duplicate it or recreate it. Giving yourself a timeout so that you're not just going from relationship to relationship.
Big one.
Right? As a grandmother would say, sit down somewhere. Like, go sit down. Go sit down. Journal, go to therapy, just, fall back in love with yourself, heal your heart. So spend some time knowing you, because when you know yourself, that will change your taste, right? You'll attract differently. You'll accept differently because you'll see yourself more, right? More clearly. So healing the heart, taking time out to get grounded in the truth of you, and then showing up to relationships in honesty. Because if they're meeting your representative, then you all still don't know if this will work. Like, everybody's pretending. So take the risk of being yourself. And if they don't like you, it's better to know that earlier.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
It's like, oh, like that's like how you really are. And they may or may not be into it. And that's okay. It'll get you on a more, the track to meet what actually aligns with you.
Mm-hmm. Amen. I love that. It is so simple, yet we got to do the work.
Right.
But I'm three things we can do right now.
Yes.
And what is a good resources to go in there? Is it the journaling? Is it like, I think of the movie How Stella Got Her Groove Back. Stella went to she broke up. She went to the Caribbean. She went on her solo vacation. She pampered herself. She connected. She journaled. She was doing all these things, and then she found love over there. Right.
Yes.
Like, it's just like, what things can we do? What are obviously counseling, talking?
Right.
Is there any other things out there that really, really help?
Yes, I would say being in community and conversation with people about their relationships, right? And especially, it's nice to have somebody in your circle who's happy in a relationship, right? Not perfect,
Modeling.
but happy. That exposing yourself to modeling, because sometimes the people in your circle are advising you based on their pain. And so that can be a setup to recreate that, right? But also when I said happy, even if it's imperfect, because it can help you to think through what that looks like, versus some people, when they have been hurt, when they're in a new thing, at the first sign of anything, they're running.
Yeah.
Right? Like, they're just quick to cut people off when, some things, not everything, we don't have to tolerate everything, but some things are like, it's a growing period, or we're just learning each other.
Yeah. Yeah. And we go, oh, they're not the same that they were the first month when we were on a honeymoon phase, and I'm going to break this up,
Yes.
I know that. I know exactly that guy.
Right.
or that lady, but I feel that. Yeah. Okay. Amazing. You have 2 books.
Yes.
What are the names of the books? Where do we get them?
All right. And then there's a third, which is a workbook. So I'll say the newest one is Matters of the Heart, Healing Your Relationship with Yourself and Those You Love. The book before that is Homecoming, Overcoming Fear and Trauma to Reclaim Your Whole Authentic Self.
Ooh.
And then there's the Homecoming workbook, which is called Reclaim Yourself.
Okay. And what's the workbook like? What do we got in there?
So we have for each of the chapters specific activation exercises, because what I find is we can think about things forever. Even sometimes in therapy, we can talk about it forever, but we're not taking any action steps.
Yeah.
So some of the things we were talking about, today is like, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love, because people will read, will go, yes. And then we don't have that resources to take the action steps.
To apply it.
We have to apply it.
Yes.
Like, the philosophy is great. And then, like, let's do it.
Yes.
Sometimes that bridge, we don't want to cross it. I don't really want to do it.
Yeah, that was awesome.
That was awesome.
Like, and what are you doing different?
What's the next self-help book we're going to read?
Right.
No. We have, I love that you did the workbook for that.
Yeah.
And what can we expect in your newest book?
So in Reclaim Yourself was the workbook. In Matters of the Heart, the first section is about building your self-compassion and releasing the self-neglect and self-abandonment. The middle section gives you kind of the fundamentals of healthy relationships. Because some of us were never taught it, never saw it. So, we can work on developing those skills. And then the third section is dealing with challenges that show up in relationships. So we mentioned the infidelity or releasing someone who doesn't love you, or healing harshness and becoming more gentle. So those are the three components.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
And viewers and listeners are going to go, okay, I love this lady right now. I got to get on the Instagram or the Facebook or where,
Yes.
where are we going to find you?
Yes.
The website?
Yeah. So my website is drthema.com, DRTHEMA, on Instagram and TikTok and X and all the others is Dr. Thema.
And you're active and you're putting stuff out there.
Yes.
All right,
and my
everybody.
podcast is the Homecoming Podcast
I
with
love
Dr.
that.
Thema.
Everybody go listen to it. Go follow right now. You're going to get if you're in a relationship, get it. If you want to be in a relationship,
Right.
go follow.
Yes, absolutely.
Amen to that. Thank you for your wisdom. I really, really feel your heart in your work.
Oh,
And before we got on air, you said that you have that balance of just like doing something you love.
Yes.
And you found this beautiful balance, and I can feel it in you.
Oh, thank
right?
you.
I can feel that you love what you do, and that's it's rare. Oftentimes, it's rare in
Yes.
life, in all walks of life.
Right, yeah.
So thank you for the work that you do, and for couples, and just bettering us. We need that.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad you had me.
All right.